A veteran Grand Canyon search and rescue volunteer offers a first-hand account of an operation that entered what insiders call the park's forbidden zone. He confirms the zone's existence and describes a disturbing encounter. This report introduces new evidence from the scene and details a post-incident interrogation by unmarked officials, raising pressing questions about what exactly is being protected in those canyons. Please leave your comments in the comments section. I really want to know what else is located in the forbidden zone of the Grand Canyon. Welcome to Weird Encounters, a place where the ordinary fades into shadow and the unexplainable comes alive. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and become part of our ever-growing community of the curious. Hello, Weird Encounters. I am the volunteer agent referenced in a story released on your YouTube channel called The Grand Canyon's Forbidden Zone. I feel like I need to provide some insight and clarification around what we really encountered that day. If this gets posted, I hope your subscribers enjoy it. My name is Ray. I've worked Grand Canyon search and rescue for more than 20 years as a volunteer. My paid job is with a water utility in the county. This email is my account from the March incident in Grand Canyon National Park. Most of your viewers have already guessed the location. I will confirm it, and still keep microsites out of print. The risk is already high without posting trail names and exact drainages. I was called because dispatch wanted a veteran search and rescue team lead. The subject was a permitted solo hiker who wrote a single word under itinerary: caves. Grand Canyon Backcountry has posted closures on several cave systems and adjacent side canyons. Some of those closures are public. Others don't show up on the visitor handout and sit behind language about cultural resources, unstable mines, and biologically sensitive areas. Locals call the larger cluster the Forbidden Zone. It isn't one neat rectangle. It's a patchwork of side canyons, benches, sinkholes, sealed adits, and cave mouths where the rules are stricter, the signs don't say much, and rangers change the subject. People talk about it as if it's a single place. It isn't. It's many places that line up in a way that matters. It was late March, nights below freezing on the rims and benches, midday thaw on the flats, a slick skin of sand on ledges, gusts that shove you off balance. We carried radios, an inReach, paper maps in sleeves, compasses, headlamps with red filters, a small stove, med kit, a short rope for packs, flagging, and personal emergency gear. I sleep with boots on in that country. I keep a pea whistle on a cord and a small fixed blade around my neck. Our team was 3: me, a district ranger, and a federal agent assigned to the case. The agent was stocky, late 30s or early 40s, neutral haircut, plain boots with no logo. He never gave a first name at the trailhead. He flashed a credential fast and shut it. He spoke in clean blocks, no filler. He didn't try to bond. He didn't avoid me either. His eyes stayed on task and on hands. He disliked small talk and wasted steps. I liked that part. What I didn't like, he ran comms as if he expected interference and had pre-written phrases for when someone else was listening. He used numbers and call signs where most teams use first names for speed. He seemed to know when a thing was about to happen, and when I asked how he knew, he said pattern. He said that word more than I liked. Did he like me? He respected competence and watched me the way a dog watches a door. He understood I wouldn't make a scene or chase rumors. He trusted that. We rolled from the trailhead on a washboard access. The subject's vehicle dust matched the road. No second car. On the approach, we saw where he stepped off the marked path across crypto soil and moved onto slickrock. Long strides, weight set forward, then onto stone where sign goes thin. Near dusk, we found his first camp under an overhang. There was no tent, just a mylar bivvy. Fire started, then smothered. Symbols in the sand, triangles nested inside larger triangles, a spiral with a break, and a headless stick figure. The agent photographed everything, careful right angles on each frame. The ranger and I worked the perimeter. At the sandstone edge, I saw a second set of impressions. It was not an animal's prints. The length-to-width ratio was wrong. Placement looked deliberate. We threaded a field of fins that forced single-file corridors. Radio traffic clipped in the low spots. That's normal. What wasn't was the cutouts landed on the same syllables more than once. The agent repeated our position to dispatch word for word every time, like he was matching a line of text. He carried a small gray meter in a pouch that clicked once when we paused near a fracture in the wall. He tapped it with a finger and put it away. When I asked, he called it a survey tool. He didn't say for what. There are old uranium claims around the canyon. There are research instruments too. I filed the click under reasons to be brief. Before full dark, we found blood. First, a small smear on a sharp stone where a boot would clip stepping down. Farther on, a shoulder-height wipe on wall sandstone, no hair, no tissue. Sand scuffs that did not match hoof or boot. Toe pressure at the front looked excessive, as if digits gripped. I stood still and listened. Wind ran steady up canyon. The agent kept his face to the shadow and listened without looking at me. We camped high on a flat, red lights only, wind at our backs, low profile. We logged our location. The reply came back too fast. The voice quality was too near for a 10-mile relay. Not a radio texture, a room texture. The agent pinged the inReach. The acknowledgement returned almost instant and plotted lower in the wash, not our bench. He stowed the device and didn't ping again. I ran the stove. The flame wavered against a wind pattern that didn't match the gusts. The ranger tried to call home and got a thin whine through the earpiece that made all three of us flinch. At 2 a.m., the air dropped hard. Frost formed on straps and bag shells. Movement in the wash below paced with long, careful spacing. Not rabbit, not coyote. I put my palm over my whistle so I wouldn't use it too early. Just after 3 a.m., it used our names. It called mine, the agent's, the ranger's. It used the ranger's voice first, then the agent's, then mine. The kid woke as it said his name with his fiancé's name attached, the way you confirm head count. That name was never on our radio transmissions. He looked at me. He was going to answer, and I covered his mouth. He understood, and we kept quiet, and it stopped by itself. He didn't key the radio. At first light, we moved. We rounded a bend and saw the second camp below. The alcove stayed dark until the sun lifted. The ranger faced downslope and stepped back. The subject was seated in the shallow shelter, torso against the pack, palms up, legs wrong, symbols in the dust around him. Same as the first camp, but closed shapes now, no breaks. There were words carved into the slab, and they said, "Don't look up." I didn't look up. We logged the scene. The agent photographed it. We marked coordinates twice and flagged a route a litter team could follow. The agent told dispatch we were changing posture. He used a sentence I'd never heard. We are under an overhang with possible overhead hazard. And he didn't mention the body on air. 50 yards later, the rock above us hissed, and pebbles ticked down. The air drew over stone in a steady pull. The kid sat fast. His heel slid, and it left a streak. I told him to crawl backward under the lip. The agent pressed me to the wall to cover our backs. Hands reached over the edge. The skin was pale and wet. The fingers were long, and the joints were just wrong. It spoke with my voice into my radio and into the air behind my left ear. I didn't answer. I took the whistle in my teeth and blew. The slot filled with sound. We shifted to a position where anything coming down would have to cross in front of us, single file, eyes level. The kid shook but kept moving when told. The agent stayed tight and counted under his breath as if he was timing our steps against something else. We reached a 6-foot pour-over we had slid down earlier. I went first. The agent tossed my pack up. I pulled the kid over and I told the agent to go. My radio popped and then a laugh came through that wasn't human. We made the rim by late morning. We moved until we hit the 2-track. We ate, and the ranger threw up and then apologized. I told him to drink water and keep walking. 2 helicopters ran the canyon. Dark paint. No visible registration at altitude. Straight run over our position and the alcove. They didn't circle. The agent's phone buzzed. One text showed our coordinates and the word hold. We didn't hold. We walked to the trucks. Staging had gone up while we were in the fins. I saw horses, tape, a command tent with a laminated org chart, boxes under tarps, a portable satellite dish aimed into side canyons. A man in an unmarked windbreaker and plain pants met us. Good posture, calm tone. He knew our names. He said we would debrief inside. He used the phrase, "a sensitive closure area south of your grid," and looked at the agent when he said, "sensitive." The agent looked at the table and nudged the laminated chart 1 inch. They knew each other. A woman in the tent wore a visitor center polo with no name tag and carried a handheld Faraday pouch for phones. They took the ranger first, then me, then the agent last. He stayed longer. The questioning was professional and rehearsed. They didn't call it an interview. They called it a post-action information capture. They separated our radios and cameras and put each in its own pouch. They asked me to walk through the night minute by minute. They asked what words were spoken aloud. They asked whether anyone said "forbidden zone" on air or face-to-face. They asked if the words carved in the stone were letters or shapes. They asked me to call the triangles rock arrangements, not symbols. They asked whether any sound we heard could be coyote, raven, or rockfall. They asked if I or the ranger used any first names in earshot of the alcove. I said no. I told them the ranger's personal name and the agent's name were used at camp by a voice that wasn't ours. The man in the windbreaker didn't look surprised. They asked about the single click from the agent's pocket meter. I said I didn't know the instrument. The woman with the pouch watched my face when I said that. They asked me to describe the fingertips. I said smooth. No nails that I could see. Long. Wet. They asked me to draw the break in the spiral. I did. My hand shook and the line didn't sit clean. They compared it to a printout with other versions. Some matched. Some placed the break in a different spot. They asked what I knew about the Forbidden Zone. I said closures, mines, cultural sites, caves with bat protections, collapsed adits, sinkholes with unstable edges, and research installations. They asked what I'd heard. I said what locals say, sealed rooms with artifacts that never made it to any archive, old Cold War listening experiments, pathogen studies, a transport tunnel project that started and stopped, legacy uranium that isn't as cleaned up as the placards claim, a chamber that drops under a mesa and hums. They watched the order I listed them. I said I wasn't going to spread any of it without proof. They said that was the correct posture. They didn't deny. They didn't confirm. They said closures protect irreplaceable resources and public safety. Their eyes didn't match the script. I won't expose coordinates. I won't put the names I've heard in writing. Not here. They slid a short statement across the table with phrases like communications anomalies and misidentification of nocturnal wildlife. I wouldn't sign that. I offered unresolved acoustic events. The man in the windbreaker accepted the edit and initialed it. He thanked me. Then he asked about my whistle. I told him it stopped working. He said whistles clog. He asked to see it. I said it was in their pouch already. He said he meant later. I didn't answer. 2 days later, the official line came out: exposure and positional asphyxia after a fall. They used the subject's kiosk photo and a neutral polygon on a map. No mention of symbols. According to the agent, the photos he took showed metadata without images when he loaded them. The radio archive had a 15-minute gap. The dispatcher told me she doesn't use first names on night runs. A week later, the agent and I met in his garage. Burnt coffee, color washed out of his face. His right hand closed around nothing. We sat on folding chairs next to his pack and a laminated comms card. He drew the spiral with the break on a napkin and I matched it. He said he'd seen it before, in boundary contexts. I asked if he meant the forbidden zone. He said he didn't like that term. It draws attention to the wrong places. I didn't ask who he really worked for. He didn't tell me. I remembered that on the way in. We passed a chained service road with a fresh lock. The roadbed had 2 sets of tire tracks. Also, at first camp, my red headlamp picked up faint tally marks on the underside of the overhang above the bivvy. Not numbers, not letters. Short, vertical cuts in clusters of 3. The cuts stopped where a soot smear began, like someone tried to hide them with smoke. In a side slot I stepped into to check a traverse, I found 3 pebbles arranged in a triangle at the wall base. They were darker than the surrounding sand and left damp marks when I moved them with a glove. The wall above felt cold through the glove. When we backed out from the body, something upstream scraped metal on stone. The night after we returned, my wristwatch vibrated with no alarm set. The next night, 3 clicks came from the kitchen, tongue on teeth. My wife slept through it. 2 weeks later, a junior volunteer told me she heard a whistle near a water tank outside the park. She said it sounded broken. Back to the man in the windbreaker. When they finished with me, he said, "Keep informal communications to a minimum." He said stories draw people into closed areas, and closed areas exist for reasons. People want speculation. But the forbidden zone is a set of closures for caves, mines, artifacts, unstable geology, and equipment. That's what you tell anyone if asked. I'm not sure I will ever tell anyone the actual coordinates to where this story took place. But I'm here to tell you that there was something not human in that part of the Grand Canyon, and it listens, mimics, and tests. It knows things and uses names. I've never encountered anything else so terrifying in my life. 2 days after the debrief, I got a text from an unknown number with coordinates. The coordinates plot to a decommissioned access road near a municipal water tank a few miles from the boundary. Same road I mentioned earlier. The forbidden zone exists. There are people who protect it, and some wear park uniforms, and some don't. I don't think they're guarding us from rumors. I think they're guarding us from something that's much more terrifying. And so, another strange encounter fades away. A trick of the mind, or something far more unsettling. That's for you to decide. Thank you so much for watching my stories. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Your support is what keeps this channel going.